talk to you tonight about that one great thing that unites us, that one great thing that brings us our greatest joy when times are good, and the deepest solace in our dark hours. Tonight, I want to talk to you about love.
Here's their plan. Whistle a happy tune while driving us off the fiscal cliff, as long as they are behind the wheel of power when we fall.
Well, two very different speeches at last night's Republican convention. Of course, we had Ann Romney speaking and Christie, as the Republicans officially nominated Mitt Romney to run for president for their party. Of course, we also have Hurricane Isaac coverage coming up. But first, Wall Street Journal's Washington bureau chief is in Tampa, Jerry Seib. Jerry, let's talk about the Christie speech first. The line for me, he said, quote, "No is what is required." He spoke about hard truths, really about cutting government. It was tough talk. What sense are you getting on the convention floor, really, that they're serious about cutting spending, not just taxes?
Well, look, I think, first of all, you said it right at the outset. You had two very different kinds of speeches. The Christie speech was a lot different from the Ann Romney speech, and they weren't supposed to be back-to-back. It was kind of a mashup created by the fact that hurricane had arrived and forced Monday and Tuesday nights together. So you did have a contrast, and you're right, the Christie speech was the tough one, and it was designed to be tough on many fronts, including foreign policy, by the way, where he said, we should be worried about being respected, not about being loved. But he also said that, you have to start cutting government. And I think people in this hall at this convention are more than happy to hear that. And they're going to hear more of it tonight, by the way, from Paul Ryan, who's got a budget that is in many ways much tougher than anything that Romney has ever proposed. So, I think there's a mood here that says in this hall, let's talk about cutting taxes and cutting spending even more. And by the way, as he was talking, that debt clock that runs on the side of the auditorium that people may have seen, which totals the national debt minute by minute, second by second, really, was running away. So I think that was the whole atmosphere of the speech.
Okay, we're going to play a quick clip of Christie speaking last night. I want to get your reaction to that.
I believe in America and her history, and there's only one thing missing now: leadership. It takes leadership that you don't get from reading a poll. You see, Mr. President, real leaders don't follow polls. Real leaders change polls.
What did you make of that part of his speech?
Well, what struck me about that part of the speech and some others was that I thought it was a little odd that Christie was talking about leadership and Republican principles, not very much about Mitt Romney. He didn't say Mitt Romney is the kind of leader who will do this. He seemed to be talking almost about himself in a lot of cases, and I think that's the way it struck some people in the hall as well. But I think this idea that there's a leadership vacuum at the top is going to be a theme you're going to hear a lot. And I think other speakers who are a little less sort of assertive than Christie will do it in a kind of a more in sorrow than anger tone. Say, look, I know you still like Barack Obama. He's a great historical figure in some ways, but he's not up to the job. And I think that was the same message that Christie was delivering. He's not a real enough leader for these times. And you're going to hear that, but in different ways from other speakers.
Jerry, before we get to Ann Romney quickly, I just want to ask, given what you noted about Christie kind of talking about himself, what are his ambitions? What sense did you get for where he wants to go?
Well, I don't know that he could answer that question, but I do know that there are a whole lot of, one of the interesting things about this convention is that whatever happens this year, there are a whole group of people here, very attractive younger Republicans who are around the edges, and all of whom know that if Mitt Romney doesn't win, there's going to be a real race that starts right away for the 2016 nomination. Christie will be at the top of that. Paul Ryan obviously would be. You've got people like Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio. These are real stars in the making, or young stars already established in the party, and they're all here and they're surrounding Mitt Romney right now. And Christie is, like Paul Ryan, at the very front of that list. So I don't think there's any doubt that he won't be in the conversation about 2016 right away if this goes the wrong way for Republicans this year.
Now, jumping over, of course, to Ann Romney's speech, it seemed like her fundamental goal was really to humanize Mitt Romney. Did she achieve that goal?
I think so. I think it was, for a lot of people, it was a very effective speech. It was a little untraditional in the sense that it was very personal, and it was delivered in a kind of in almost a motherly kind of way. And there were lots of references to the high school dance where I met him, which is not the sort of thing you hear at a political convention all that much. But I think to the extent there was a need to make a personal statement about somebody who knows Mitt Romney well and who feels a side of Mitt Romney that doesn't always come through in a campaign setting, I thought that worked pretty well.
Let's take a quick listen to a bit more of Ann Romney's speech.
I can't tell you what will happen over the next 4 years, but I can only stand here tonight as a wife and a mother and a grandmother, an American, and make you this solemn commitment. This man will not fail.
Jerry, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it.